Hello everyone, this is Solaris290, and I'm here today to give you my thoughts on chapter 554 of Kingdom, entitled Offense and Defense of the Heki Army. As the title implies, this chapter mainly revolves around Heki, and him proving not only to his own men and to the mountain tribes, and the Quanrong, but to Kingdom's readers even, that he is someone who not only has resolve, the mental strength to act as a general, and is able to use tactics, even if they are rather by the book, to achieve his aims and ends in battle. So from last chapter, it starts off with Heki being informed that the Quanrong army he is facing is now fielding numbers over 20,000, and soon he learns that both Baggio and the Figo King are facing the same situation. While Heki's men are terrified at this prospect, Katali tells him that this is the time for his men to fall back and let the Mirror tribe take the reins. This, of course, is a situation in which Heki needs to make a calm, rational, measured decision here, and it's not helped by Kitali basically telling him to get out of the way and move it. But nonetheless, despite being faced with all of this, Heki steals his resolve. Ultimately, he's vowed to not disappoint Yotanwa once again, and as a general, he will win this battle by whatever means possible. Soon we understand just what those means are. As Heki orders his main troops to advance, the Quanrong commander facing him, Bunen, muses that Heki's army is even stupider than that of the mountain tribes, and he orders his cavalry to steamroll them. But as the cavalry advance, it soon becomes clear that Heki has a plan in mind, that he's ready to combat these Quanrong cavalry through the use of fundamental tactics. The demonstration we get here is his troops who have been bracing themselves with foot-long shields, now throw off said shields and unleash a barrage of arrows with the bows that they've been concealing. Despite the Quanrong being in greater number, their greater number is precisely what allows for more of them to be picked off, as they're hit with a tight, close-range barrage of arrows, which cause them to stop in their tracks. Katari is surprised that Heki was able to draw them in on purpose, but there's still more cavalry that are able to fight, and with that, Heki now turns to the second phase of his tactics. His shield troopers once again get up their shields and equip their spears, and with that, the cavalry who are still in momentum have their trajectory stopped as they're faced with the shields and the sharp spears. Some Quanrong cavalry, given their greater number, still manage to get inside, but Heki has a trick even for that end. Said Quanrong commander, who's managed to break in, is soon hit by an arrow, and that makes it clear that there are archers inside the formation even. They were embedded within the infantry just to take out any enemies that broke through. Instead of a long-range attack, Heki had effectively created a wall upon within a wall. There are archers with shields who then have infantry supporting them, but the infantry themselves are supporting the archers within the centre of the formation. It's a very tightly packed, rather convoluted, some might say, formation, but it's one that works to great effect here against the Quanrong cavalry. Katari notes with some awe that the gap that had been broken into has already now been plugged and closed again. Kitali even wonders whether these troops are elites. And now we get Heki's monologue to justify and explain his actions. Ultimately, this strategy of his comes down to two main functions, that being repair and defend. By no means are Heki and his army performing any flashy or extremely amazing tactics, but nonetheless they are well thought out. He and his troops have practiced every single fundamental tactic hundreds upon hundreds of times within the 8 days of weathering the force of the Quanrong. Ultimately, he has confidence that his men will be able to carry out those two orders, repair and defend, faster and smoother than any other army he knows. The Quanrong were seeking to utterly destroy Heki's army here through the use of a cavalry charge bolstered by far greater numbers. And yet Heki knows that with these tactics he can draw in and cut down the Quanrong soldiers as many times as is necessary. Such a tactic is one which the Quanrong will soon learn to their cost. Qatari notes that he probably underestimated Heki. Kitali sees the Quanrong as just being idiots for falling for this. Bunin here shows his cruelty, that the heads of those who fell just now will be cut off. I honestly have to question, won't most of those cavalry who fell just now be already dead? So it's not a punishment, I suppose it's more just desecration of the dead to make a point? What point exactly, I'm not really sure. But in any case, the Quanrong infantry now begin their assault, and the infantry alone are close to 10,000. And another nice callback here, even further back, to, you guessed it, Darkhan Plains. It's the good old 5-man squad, tried and tested, as old Taku informed us. He also utilises 50-man Zoku and 100-man Haku blocks while fighting. All in all, it's a matter of creating a reliable block of men who can support each other and fight in tandem. Now infantry, who are making up the bulk of this army, are finally clashing. And at this point, Heki turns to Qatari. He informs Qatari that now that the bulk of the clash of forces between their armies is in motion, he wants Qatari and the mountain tribes in the rear to join the battle. Qatari had thought this as well, but he fears that Bunin is not that simple of a commander. Advancing his infantry is not his main attack. It's more than likely that he has a plan up his sleeve that he'll reveal later on. But with the Mera cavalry now here, Qatari proclaims that in such an opening he will go for Bunin's head. Infantry are now engaging each other. Qatari and Kitali set off. This was a rather entertaining moment with Kitali here, who somewhat insults Heki, given it's coded in her native tongue, that she'll be sure to take Bunin's head. That is, right as Heki himself falls in battle. Honestly. I just can't work out whether Qatali hates Heki, whether she's grudgingly respecting him, or does she actually have a thing for him? Who knows? But in any case, Heki doesn't entirely understand what she's saying, and simply interprets it to be a wish of good luck. He does the same, much to Qatari's annoyance, and even manages to get in a dramatic exit while doing so. But in any case, they're interrupted now by Baggio's field, and just from the one shot we get this lovely panel of the mountain troops riding down on horses against the Quanrong. It's going to be one doozy of a battle. Heki wishes Baggio good luck, and now we move on quickly to the Figo King, and his fight is rather interesting. The Figo King's a bit annoyed that both Heki and Baggio have already started their battles, but he notes that the youngest brother whom he's facing, Torque, seems to be too afraid to even engage him directly, and as we know from Kingdom, that's never a good sign. We can assume that Torque here is more strategic, and certainly he's not willing to commit the bulk of his troops against the Figo King, but ultimately Torque has the luxury of having an army more than double the Figo King's size. So it does seem that there's a purpose for his inaction at this point. The Figo King might be in for a hard battle here. Now finally we end off with Yutanwa, who looks at the sky and notes it's been a long time since she's felt the sensation of being balanced on such a knife's edge, that this battle ultimately will be one that's do or die, make or break. The narration tells us the Battle of Ryo on its fateful 9th day of battle is here, and with it, it will decide whether Yutanwa will triumph in this most darkest of hours. So this chapter was definitely an enjoyable one. I tell you what, it more than made up for Heki's failings from the last couple of chapters. If last chapter gave us an inkling that Heki had the resolve necessary to redeem himself and fight the Quanrong evenly, this chapter showed just what those tactics exactly were. As many have probably noted, Heki seems to be resembling Morgor here, Hakulor, with his by-the-book tactics, not flashy and not complicated, but nonetheless well thought out and able to do the job when necessary. This is Solaris 290, signing out. Give me your thoughts and comments below.